Hi, I'm Greg Gutfeld with Kimberly Guilfoyle, Ebony Williams, Eric Bowling, and a walnut is her bicycle helmet. Dana Perino, Le 5. You got to hand it to the Russians. They're so Russian. According to the CIA, that big lovable bear of a country tampered with our elections to help Mr. Trump win. Now, there's no evidence of coordination. Without that, this is just suspicion. There may be proof that they tried to do it, but none that they succeeded. But let's be honest. How would we react if the situation were reversed and Hillary had won thanks to Putin? It would be all-out war around here. I ain't kidding. Trump would be screaming. And, of course, the media would dismiss it. That's the nature of team sport politics, which prevents us from seeing that a foreign power may have subverted our system. And we know that's wrong, but maybe we don't care that it's wrong because our side won. Trump, who cares, right? Here's why you should. What else might the Russians have that they didn't release? They hacked to get Trump in. What did they hack to control him? But maybe it's not about control at all, but chaos. If Russia is shown to tamper with our election and one half of America demands a new election, you get demonstrations and riots and perhaps bloodshed. Russians do this stuff in their sleep. Look, it's fine to side with a bad guy to beat another bad guy. We sided with Russia to beat Hitler, and it might help in dealing with ISIS as well. But do you side with a bad guy to beat an American candidate? How truly ironic is that? To make America great again, we outsourced. So, Dana, welcome back to the show. It seems like months that you've been gone.
Did you miss me?
No. What is your name again? Is it possible in this day and age to look at this from a bipartisan perspective, or as team sport politics make it so that it's okay because Trump won? We're glad that Hillary isn't in there. Maybe Russia did us a favor. Can we not look at it that way, or is that how
I think that the professionals in government can do that. I know that there is some consternation by some Democrats who think that Mitch McConnell put up a roadblock, but he is saying that he's for an investigation and transparency as they could have it. And the thing is that we're a month from the election, and I do think that many Democrats are still refusing to believe what happened.
Yeah.
And I understand that they're smarting from the popular vote being 2.8 million, but the Electoral College was quite decisive. Now we have this Electoral College briefing for about the intelligence hack, and it's not. There's no way that the Electoral College is going to go against the wishes of their voters. So I'm for the professionals to get the briefing. I think that that's fine, but it's not going to change the outcome. It might be something to say that Russia interfered in the campaign in terms of propaganda or some sort of news. But there's no evidence, as far as I know, about hacking into any voting booth or any state system. So I think that is a little bit far-fetched. And I do think that if the Democrats are looking for a scapegoat, they have got to look at themselves. One of the big things was the blue wall in Wisconsin. They asked for a recount in a state where Hillary Clinton never once campaigned. Didn't step foot in it once. So I think there's a lot of reasons that the Democrats lost. I don't think Russia was it.
Yeah. Eric, do you think it's sour grapes? Do you think we should look into this?
Well, you should always look into whether the Russians are hacking us on any level. But, where's the logic behind, let's see, the Russians hacked the RNC because they're trying to help Trump? I really don't get the logic there. That's been bandied about. The RNC said they weren't hacked. The FBI said they weren't, that the RNC was not hacked. I know the CIA has a different opinion, but the FBI themselves had the opinion that the RNC wasn't hacked. And it does seem like sour grapes. Now, first it was the recounts. The recounts weren't going to work. Let's try Russian hacking. That's not going to work. I have no idea what's next, but they only have 5 days to try and petition the Electoral College to change their votes. I agree with Dana. It's not going to happen. And last thought. Didn't Barack Obama himself belittle Mitt Romney when Mitt Romney said the Russians were a problem? Yep. And Barack said, no, the 80s want their foreign policy back, ha, ha, ha. And now he's trying to blame the Russians. Yeah. Now he's trying to blame the Russians for Trump. The bottom line is American people voted. They've spoken. It's Trump.
Greg, this is an example of not sour grapes, but sour vodka. I mean, really, because think about it. There is absolutely no evidence to suggest, just as Dana pointed out, any kind of evidence of voter fraud or manipulation of polls or in terms of going to the polls and people casting votes that weren't counted, nothing whatsoever. What you have simply is you had a bad candidate against a good candidate, and you had the allegations here that the Russians tried to attack, the RNC, the DNC, and Podesta. So if you have bad cybersecurity, bad luck for you. You should do something better. This election turned against Hillary Clinton because she was a terrible candidate with many examples of misdeeds against the American people, including her own deleting of emails, withholding evidence, and repeatedly lying about it on the record. And that's why she was rejected by the American people.
This is one instance where the Russians didn't mess with the polls. Ebony?
Well done.
Yeah, I'll shoot myself later.
Yes, so I'm not at all interested in revisiting the election, like not at all. But I am interested in figuring out exactly and getting to the bottom of exactly what is happening around this Russian hacking possibility even. Let's talk about what we know. We know that this is very possible. We know our CIA is telling us something different, as Eric points out, than our FBI. So I think we have to flush that out, because I think it's very, very dangerous when we start ignoring what could be very critical facts simply because it doesn't fit very neatly into a pro-Trump narrative. And I'm saying this as someone who is not pro-Hillary Clinton, did not vote for Hillary Clinton, but is concerned with the well-being of America. So I think that's very, very important. And to something you said, Greg, in your intro around, is this working because it's an enemy of our enemy? Well, I just got back from Israel, and something that a general said there who's, fighting terrorism every day. We must remember the enemy of our enemy is not our friend. It's actually still our enemy. And that's very important.
What are you talking about? If it doesn't fit the pro-Trump narrative, we should ignore it.
Well, because a lot of people are attaching this, Eric, to let's not pay attention to this allegation because Trump won, and that's what's important. And I'm saying we need to separate the facts and the conclusions. So I'm not interested in the conclusion around, it twisted the election, and so thus we need to revisit the election results. I'm ready to accept completely Trump as our president. But I think that it's still important that we separate that part, the conclusionary part, from the facts around the hacking itself and the hacking into databases, whether it's the RNC, the DNC, Hillary Clinton, or what have you.
But the RNC and the FBI agree that they don't believe the RNC was hacked. So it's
but if the DNC was hacked, that's important too, I think.
Well, of course it is important if that in fact is the case.
It's the capability, right? It's the capability of Russia to go there.
You forget there is one other option here. It's not a hack; it's a leak. And no one has locked down the fact that it's definitely a hack and not someone disgruntled at the DNC.
I agree. Leaking. And that's why, again, I think we're both saying that it's important to continue to get facts around it, fact gathering.
Oh, facts are too complicated, Dana. Do you want to hear from Donald Trump on this? Let's go.
I think it's ridiculous. I think it's just another excuse. I don't believe it. I don't know why. And I think it's just, they talked about all sorts of things. Every week it's another excuse. We had a massive landslide victory, as you know, in the Electoral College. I think the Democrats are putting it out because they suffered one of the greatest defeats in the history of politics in this country. And frankly, I think they're putting it out, and it's ridiculous. We ought to get back to making America great again.
That's what I have a problem with, by the way. Just that kind of dismissiveness of it's not important because I won and let's move on.
Well, and also it's what Lindsey Graham said. This hurts Hill today, but it could hurt us tomorrow. It could hurt you tomorrow with your emails. God knows what's in there.
This is true. This is true. I don't know what the intel community can provide to the American public that is not classified and in a way that could be looked at with the naked eye. Because to Ebony's point, there are some people saying, why would you even cover this? It's just fake news.
Right.
Okay. The intelligence community came up with a consensus, apparently. There is always, usually you're dealing with human beings, so you have disagreement, but consensus is consensus. And so I would love to know if they brought this to everybody before the election and there was a decision not to look into it, and now the Democrats are getting enough attention that they get the investigation that they wanted, it's still not going to change the result. No. But that is also an interesting thing, too. Like, so what happened with the information at the time?
And what did they get? I mean, think about this for a second. What if they did, in fact, hack the RNC and the RNC didn't know, what did they get? They certainly didn't get anything that would sway a voter away from Trump. They might have reason to sway a voter towards Trump. I mean, it just feels like another desperate attempt by not only the liberals, not only Hillary, but the never-Trumpers, too. Some of the people who are calling for massive, hold off, let's make sure we get an investigation prior to this electoral college voting, seem like they're on that never-Trump bandwagon for a while.
And she didn't lose in her strongholds. She lost in the places anything that came out that was negative against Hillary Clinton didn't actually harm her with her base.
Yeah.
She lost with the swing voters and in those important blue wall states.
Undecideds, yeah. The problem is that this really looks like just another attempt to delegitimize a huge victory on behalf of the Republican Party and the Trump movement, where he resoundingly defeated Hillary Clinton, including taking 200 counties that Barack Obama was able to win last time around. So this, I think, and outperforming in terms of African Americans and Latino community as well. So he exceeded all expectations that were set prior to going in to Election Day. And now you have Hillary complaining and using Jill as a surrogate. That didn't work. Those suits get dropped. Now they're going to complain about Russia. But Russia wasn't pulling the lever. The American people were.
Yeah, they just helped show how bad Hillary is. I think it's you got to look at it, because I do think it's about sowing discord. I don't know if it's about Trump winning. I don't think it's about Russia wanting Trump to win. It's just, can we mess with their elections? Because Russians like doing that stuff. I know.
Oh, interesting.
Yes.
It's close to home.
Yes. Up next, the president-elect still hasn't named his Secretary of State, but there's already an uproar over the guy he's rumored to have chosen, ExxonMobil chief Rex Tillerson, when the 5 returns.